those troops in South Korea, they come home. Japan, they come home. Afghanistan, they come home. As an example of how diluted our ideas of what a demilitarization is, we have a plan to remove troops from Iraq except for 50,000. Wow, how do you count? That's not even good mathematics, is it? And I can guarantee you there is no experiential evidence that our troops abroad make us safer. They make us less safe. Number one, they take that manpower, which should be in the United States, and put it thousands of miles away. The other thing they do is they create enemies. There's no doubt when you're on foreign bases, there are rapes, there are murders. People are angry because there's status of forces agreement that prevent prosecutions. And when you have a war of terrorism, you kill civilians, drop bombs on wedding parties, because in order to reduce U.S. casualties, you drop bombs from 35,000 feet. There's a natural resentment that any country has at seeing a foreign occupation force. So you're creating enemies, you're creating hostility. That doesn't happen when you have our forces here. It doesn't mean we don't have aircraft carrier. It doesn't mean we don't have submarines. They don't create that resentment. You fly 35,000 miles over airspace, you don't drop bombs, people don't get angry. That's what history teaches. Right? They get angry, they see the truth. And moreover, there's also no demonstration whatsoever that a democracy is less likely to attack the United States, it's more likely to be a friend, and we have to try to transform all countries abroad in that yoke in order to give us an enhanced layer of safety. Remember, what was the first war that fought against the United States? It was Great Britain, the War of 1812. It was perhaps the freest country in the world at the time. Countries have interests. They don't have friends and enemies. And it is silly to think that we can't be safe even if there is tyranny abroad. There can be tyranny in Zimbabwe. It doesn't affect us as long as we protect our republic here. And we should get outside this delusion of injustice anywhere that threatens us. No. What threatens us is this idea we have to project our military everywhere, which means all the power goes to the president and we lose liberty in the process. Can you imagine the lunacy of our saying we are going to teach democracy abroad, at the same time we're committing torture, we're holding people as enemy combatants without accusation or charge, we're claiming state secrets so people who are victims of constitutional violation can't get any justice, we're having the president say Congress can't even ask one of our members of the executive branch or former members to show up to testify so we know what they're doing, and we are teaching others democracy? For me, and a lot of candidates for this, came with the recent negotiation of the status of forces agreement with Iraq. Now let's look at the two procedures here. In Iraq, the status of forces agreement, which, by the way, for the first time puts American troops under the command and control of Iraqis, a foreign government. In Iraq, the agreement was submitted to the parliament, it was amended, and they provided now for a referendum of the Iraqi people in July. Fine. In the United States, the teacher of democracy, the president decreed it. No negotiations with Congress, no publication whatsoever. He just announced, we have this status of forces agreement. It wasn't a treaty, it all came from the executive branch, sort of like Athena from Zeus's brain, immaculate. Now, we're taking lessons from democracy from Baghdad, a country that lived 4,000 years of despotism. It shows you how, with this global military projection, we have destroyed our concept of republic, checks and balances. Why didn't the American people know what was in that status of forces agreement before anything was done to give it any legal effect? After all, I say, this was unique in the sense that our men and women now are under the command and control of a foreign government. Never before, and yet we don't even submit it for a treaty, a legislative action, no debate whatsoever. And unless things change, dramatic, that we need to lead, to embrace the kind of foreign policy that the Founding Fathers envisioned and I have articulated. We may well, before the first term of Barack Obama concludes, be in places like Iran, North Korea, Pakistan, without any knowledge at all why we're there. That, I say, is no longer the United States of America. We will risk that last full measure of devotion. But it's got to be for a reason we believe in, we vote for, we know of it. We're not conscripted like vassals blindly into places that don't have any apparent connection to American safety. Now, there are a couple of provisions that I think deserve support that can at least try to place some checks on executive war-making power. I've drafted a bill with Walter Jones of North Carolina, a very brave and courageous Democrat, called the Executive Accountability Act, and it makes it a crime for the President to deceive Congress and the American people to get us into war. Seems revolutionary, but this would have been commonplace amongst the Founding Fathers. Now, the second thing that needs to happen is we need to prohibit Congress from delegating to the President the decision to make war. That we've reached a level of cowardice in the legislative branch that knows no bounds. It began in part with the Gulf of Tonkin resolution, didn't initiate war in Vietnam, and told President Johnson, you can decide. If you make up a tax on the Turner Joy and USS Maddox, okay, that's good enough for us. And with the Iraqi war resolution saying, we don't want to take responsibility for the Iraqi war, you can decide, Mr. President. That simply is not acceptable. If you don't want to make the decision, don't be in Congress. I'm closing my time here. I just want to leave with these parting words. Judge Napolitano, I think, alluded to the fact that the United States is unique because its founding document says, we the people are sovereign. That's you and me, not those who are elected. And if this country is to shy from empire, if it's to turn back, it's up to us. We have to make clear, if they don't abide by what's very apparent from anyone who's mastered the founding documents, to the Constitution, its mission, its separation of powers, we throw them out of office. And we need to get to a time where we have a presidential candidate or a president who says, I don't want all the power like George Washington could have been king. He said, I don't want it. We need that kind of humility and understanding that to err is human, to forgive is divine, and we'll be in good shape. Thank you so much.